Breaking news out of Cleveland this morning. The Cavaliers, they dismissed head coach J.B. Bickerstaff. That's what our senior NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski reported. That's despite making the second round of the playoffs for the first time in 6 seasons. The franchise now embarks on a search that will land them, they hope, a coach to take Cleveland deeper into the Eastern playoffs. Brian Windhorst, every move that Cleveland makes this offseason, it feels like it has to be viewed through the lens of Donovan Mitchell. So what does the decision to move on from Bickerstaff signal to you here?
I think it is through the lens of Donovan Mitchell. I think the Cavs, this was a difficult decision, which they always say when they fire a coach, but this is a coach who's taken them from the lottery to the play-in to the playoffs to the second round. That is exactly what you want when you hire a coach of a rebuilding team. And not only that, there's an extreme closeness between the Bickerstaff family and Kobe Altman. Bernie Bickerstaff, JB's father, has been a longtime aide and an advisor to Kobe. So this was not a simple answer. And so the answer that I will tell you, and the one that's hard for the Cavs to say, is that they obviously believe that changing coaches here will benefit them in their quest to re-sign Donovan Mitchell. Now, when they do come to Donovan in a few weeks, they can't really officially negotiate with him until after the NBA Finals. You would expect that they would have a new coach at that time who has a vision for how he wants to play and maximize Donovan. Obviously, they will offer him the extension at that time, and Kobe Altman would have an off-season plan to present for their roster. And those are things that the Cavs have to work on. But there's no doubt that the J.B. Bickerstaff Donovan Mitchell relationship was a factor in this decision, and that the new head coach, whoever that may be, will have to have a plan for how to maximize Donovan Mitchell, not only to sell the Cavs but to sell the Donovan himself.
Donovan still has a year left on his contract, and then of course he has that player option. But when looking at this, Brian, it is a little bit stark to see that 3 head coaches that were in the playoffs this season, Darvin Ham, Frank Vogel, and now J.B. Bickerstaff, were all dismissed as head coach. That is, despite making it to the postseason. So let's talk a little bit about Los Angeles, since we mentioned Darvin Ham. How does the vacancy in Cleveland impact the Lakers search here?
Yeah, I do think that there's going to be some crossover in some candidates, specifically James Borrego. I think James Borrego, I know that J.J. Redick has been routinely viewed as the leading candidate in L.A. James Borrego interviewed there this week. He is a strong candidate, and I expect he will be a strong candidate in Cleveland as well. This is a guy who's got a very good coaching background and history. Was known for his offensive concepts, which is one of the things he brought to Charlotte as a head coach there. They were a great offensive team, something the Cavs, frankly, could use a little bit. I also think that Kenny Atkinson, who was the lead assistant on Steve Kerr's bench,
right.
He will, I believe, get an interview in Cleveland. And I would also not be surprised if the Cavs have some interest in Mike Nori, who is sort of serving as the sideline head coach right now for the Wolves. There's some teams that have sort of been impressed with him as well. But, the Lakers, they've been going through their process and everything. And now there's an interesting other job out there. And the thing about the Cavs job that I think is interesting relative to the Laker job, and this is candidates who I've talked to have told me about this, like coaching in the East right now is a little bit more attractive than coaching in the West. And sometimes you don't get a choice. But I've even talked to agents who have potential free agents this summer, or players who may end up getting traded this summer, who are saying, you know what, it might not be a bad idea to go East and just look at how packed the West is and how strong even the teams that miss the playoffs are. And I don't know if that would be a factor in the coaching market, but certainly a factor in all NBA transactions that we're going to watch over the next month.
Right, because it seems like the West, even the teams, as you mentioned, that aren't in the playoffs this year, we very well could see them in the postseason next year. So
NBA